Alright, this is video number 6 of chapter 14. We are reading from The Rape of the Mind, The Psychology of Thought, Control, Menticide, and Brainwashing by Just A.M. Merleau, M.D. As we have seen earlier, the whole question of loyalty is a complicated one. In our zeal to create guarantees of trustworthiness, we tend to oversimplify the problem, and thus we may overshoot the mark and become like our totalitarian antagonists, for whom oversimplification is a stock in trade. Asking people for a loyalty oath, asking them to perform that magic ritual through which they forswear all past and future political sin, may have a paradoxical effect. Merely taking an oath does not make a man loyal, although it may later enable a judge to prosecute him for perjury. Our insistence on official expressions of allegiance actually discredits and devalues the basic personal sense of voluntary and self-chosen identification with the community, with which is the essence of loyalty. It certainly does not either create or ensure loyalty. The loyalty oath too easily degenerates into an empty formula, and the man who takes it may forget completely the meaning it is supposed to have. To many, it has become simply red tape, another one of those endless, troublesome forms that must be filled out. The oath compulsion can easily grow into a childish magic strategy, a form of mental blackmail. There are some Oriental religions in which devotions are performed through the use of a prayer wheel. That when the wheel is set in motion by a flip of the hand, the worshipper has done his job. He need not recite any prayers. He need not think any devout thoughts. The practitioners of these religions no longer have any awareness of the content of their prayers. They are blind subscribers to a ritual whose meaning they have long since forgotten. Signing a loyalty oath can become as empty a gesture as turning the prayer wheel. True loyalty is not a static thing, as we have already seen. It grows and develops with the personality. It has to be rediscovered and re-experienced every day, since it is essentially as a result of the inner battle of contending values that man finds his own particular values and loyalties. When a man is compelled to swear to his loyalty even though he feels it already deep within him, the compulsion from outside means that he must lay aside his personal right to weigh values and take counsel with his honest principles. It does not matter whether or not the oath is an expression of his true feelings. The element of enforcement that lies behind it has a psychologically weakening effect on the man who takes it. This may seem strange at first glance, but a simple analogy will make it clear. The man who truly loves his wife, for example, does not need repeatedly to swear to his love. He shows it in his actions. But if she insists on his swearing, her very insistence, implying as it does that she doubts him, may bring questions to her husband's mind, and he begins to grow confused as to what he really thinks. Both in demanding an oath and in taking it, we perpetrate the ridiculous illusion that enemies can be kept out through this prayer wheel system. The fact is that deliberate traitors and subversives are the very ones who are not afraid to disguise their motivations and hide their intentions behind prescribed formulations. Nor are they afraid of perjury charges. They feel no hesitation in signing an oath if it is opportune for them to do so. For them, words and oaths are only tools which have no binding moral value. More important than the demand for loyalty should be the demand for integrity, for steadiness of character, for maturity of aims and motivations. Free man needs loyalty to the self first of all, and this implies the right to be himself. The man who feels that he is nothing, who feels that everyone, himself included, doubts him, who is inwardly weak, may become an easy prey to all kinds of totalitarian political influences. Loyalty hunts and loyalty oaths may provoke disloyalty to one's personal integrity and to personal freedom, since they create suspicion in ourselves and in others. Freedom is kept upright by the very presence of opposition, even at the risk of nonconformism and scattered subversion. Loyalty comes about as a result of mutual confidence. It cannot be created through compulsion. Any compulsion is, by its very nature, one-sided. Loyalty has to be deserved and won daily through mutual interaction and through contact between leaders and citizens. Because it is based on confidence, loyalty is given spontaneously and of free will. True loyalty cannot be bought or demanded. In investigating the case of the young American soldiers in Korea who were brainwashed and forgot too easily where their loyalty lay, we usually find in their backgrounds how disloyally one of their parents have behaved toward them. In nearly all the so-called pro-communist cases, we find a disturbed youth. It is important that the community investigate its initial loyalty toward these young men. In a democratic state, we should be prepared to adduce convincing facts in support of our own way of life or to develop new approaches which will reveal the weaknesses of any subversive system. Prosecution of dissenting ideas, insistence on loyalty according to some prescribed formula, these make it impossible for us to do this and may be the beginning of an unwillingness to argue and persuade. They may even lead to a new form of betrayal, the subtle treason of intellectual detachment, the unwillingness to take responsibility, the treason of doubting relativism, which leads to an inaction. It may degenerate into a dangerous form of mental laziness which can easily be turned into a life of no commitments or into totalitarian submission. The approaches to truth are multifarious, and it is only where there is a clash of opinion that these approaches can be discovered and the right road to truth be found. The danger in the loyalty compulsion is then that we may conceal mental apathy behind a rigid formula and thus lose sight of the constant need for psychological alertness and the real meaning of loyalty and a free way of life. The mechanical formula of a loyalty oath, because it checks moral alertness and a search for ethical clarification, may be the beginning of the thought control we all fear. True loyalty is a living, dynamic quality. In the subtle choice between loyalty to people and loyalty to principles, usually a much vaguer feeling, the lawmaker has to leave the individual as free as possible because the latter type of loyalty is based on the first. Without personal loyalty, there is no national loyalty. There is still another aspect to this problem. We must learn to distinguish between loyalty in actions and disloyalty in feelings and thought. Subversion of opinion is never a crime. The right to dissent is the keystone of democracy. In a free state, we must be willing to correct subversion by our better arguments. Persecuting dissenting ideas is a form of mental laziness. Psychologically speaking, a government cannot concern itself with conscious motivations and the unconscious motivations which cannot be separated from them of people, because inwardly everybody has contrasting motivations. The quandary that such a government would provide itself is illustrated by the following quotation from the Oppenheimer hearing by the Gray Board, published in 1954. We believe that it has been demonstrated that the government can search its own soul and the soul of an individual whose relationship to his government is in question with full protection of the rights and interests of both. We believe that loyalty and security can be examined within the framework of the traditional and inviolable principles of American justice. In these beautiful phrases lie hidden all the ominous beginnings of totalitarian thought control. The government that searches the soul of any thinking individual can always find a case against him because doubt, ambivalence, and groping are traits common to all men. We cannot measure anybody's dependability on the basis of his thoughts and feelings as they appear to us. In the first place, we can never know what lies behind a seemingly loyal facade. In the second place, the man whose search for truth leads him to explore many heretical points of view can be the most loyal in his actions. His very exploration may well lead him to the considered judgment that underlies true loyalty. What counts in any man is the consistency and integrity of his behavior and his courage in taking a stand, not his conformity to official dogma. And I think that's where I'll stop, so I don't run out of time here. This was video number 6. And looks like the next video we are going to finish up chapter 14. We are reading, again, from The Rape of the Mind, The Psychology of Thought Control, Menticide, and Brainwashing by Juiced A.M. Merleau, M.D. See you in the last video of this chapter.